as a dog lover, and those who love dogs, they know that dogs, they don't go to litter box, they need to be walked several times a day out. And they also don't lick themselves, they need to be washed. Miami-Dade Animal Services don't provide walking or washing of animals. Actually, confinement of animals without walking is defined in the Florida statute as a cruelty to animals. My question is, don't you think it is imperial and it's very important to appoint employers to walk regularly and wash animals rather than keep them confined and dirty in the cages and rely on our volunteers whose help is very little? Here's my example. For instance, this little dog sits in a little cage, plays in a little cage number I-17. According to this board that shows how many times volunteers walk and wash the dogs, this little dog went out of this cage only once on Saturday during the whole entire week. How healthy it is for the animals to stay in this condition and to be treated like that. Can you please tell us, is it healthy, is it okay? Thank you.
Of course, it's important to meet the standards, and one of the minimum standards that we think about are the 5 freedoms of animal welfare, which include clean food and freedom from fear and freedom from thirst and hunger and freedom to express normal activities, which would be being clean and walking. The question is, how do you accomplish it? If you do the math, with the staffing that's there as of last year, unless you've got this huge staffing increase, it's probably basically still true. If you divide the number of animals that are in the shelter any one day by the number of staff, they have 5 to 10 minutes per animal for all of the work that they have to do. Feeding, cleaning, record keeping, getting them to spay, neuter, getting them up to adoption, talking to adoption people. So that's the math. It's not the right math, it's not the math we would like to have, but it is the math. So something is going to slip, and right now it sounds like comfort, enrichment, exercise is what may be slipping. Unless you can convince the county, and they're here listening, so this is a good venue to convince them in, to hire more staff, something critical is going to slip. This is where volunteers come in. It is essential to build up the volunteer pool so that animals do get out several times a day. If they need a bath, they get a bath. But if they're getting out several times a day, often they don't need the bath.
Excuse me, I don't want it to be debate, I just want to read
I'm so sorry, Ms. Tatiana. We have many people lined up in a whole program, so is this another question, or is it another question? Or if we need to give other people a chance. I'm sorry, thank you so very much. We just have limited time to get through the whole program. Right, thank you so much.
Jerry, anyway, one quick question. With the no-kill plan voted in unanimously by the entire commission in 2012, in the second whereas it states, an animal will not be euthanized based on breed. There is a major conflict here when the pit bull ban, the hideous pit bull ban, is still in place. What is your stand on breed-specific legislation, and how does it impact the shelter becoming a no-kill shelter?
Good question, and it's a complicated issue. So the first part is, obviously, breed-specific legislation is archaic. It doesn't achieve the safety that it's supposed to achieve. I do work with Animal Farm Foundation. I don't know if you are familiar with the game. They're partners in work in bringing their playgroup program, Levy Sadler, out into shelters. And I've just published a paper that you might find interesting. I just was trying to check if it's available online now. We did DNA testing on shelter dogs and then asked shelter staff to say, is it a pit bull or not a pit bull? And not surprisingly, like all of us, you can't look at a dog and know its breed. And so there was no really correlation between the DNA testing results and the breed identification by the staff. So that tells us what we've always known, which is you can look at a dog, looks like a black lab, and it's probably not. So on the other side of that is, and I even hate to bring this up because I know it won't be popular, but in the communities that have had long-term pit bull breeds, you actually do kill fewer pit bulls, like Denver, Howard County. So, and Denver is the same way. And it's just the irony of it, but I think we should eliminate specific legislation. We need to work harder on supporting
And I'm sorry, could you just give your name? I don't remember if you did. We want to make sure everybody did so we can do any following. Thank you.
Oh, Dahlia, Director of the Miami Coalition Against Specific Legislation.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, let's go over to this side. Yes, Rick.
My name is Rick Morgan. I actually work for the commissioner. As an interested citizen, I had a couple questions. I don't know if Lee May can bring up your slides, but the two slides that were of interest to me were entitled 2013 and MDAS, and we were talking about the money. So we looked at Miami-Dade compared to exactly the rest of the state. And I was wondering, can you tell us on the left upper hand side where it seems like they're getting more money, what cities or metropolitans, why are they different than where we stand? And it might not be easy, but maybe name some of those cities so we can research later.
I wish I could give it to you later, because I can just, if you email, I'm happy to take any questions by email, because we might not get to everybody, and I did put my email on the last, and I'm leaving this presentation with them, so you can look at it as well.
We'll follow up with an email.
Yeah,
Share your contact.
yeah, some of those are quite outliers on the well-funded side, but I'm not sure correlates with life safety.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll go back to this side, please. And your name, please.
Yes, hi, my name is Marina Goldenberg. I run the rescue group of Saving Safe Animal Rescue Foundation. We rescue cats and dogs. And my question is about the numbers released by Miami-Dade Animal Services. I wanted to know, because it is my personal opinion that the animals that are saved by rescue groups should not be considered as Miami-Dade Animal Services numbers. The animals that get in there, that get surrendered, and then are pulled, like we say, by rescue groups, are not it's not a job done by Miami-Dade Animal Services. So that number should be included in the number that Miami-Dade Animal Services is releasing as their job. One more
So someone can clarify, if somebody knows off the top of their head in here, in our shelter and in most shelters, those would be considered transfers, and there is a transfer category.
Okay, great. And then one more question would be the fact that not all animals in Miami-Dade are surrendered to animal services. We have dumping grounds, and I'm sure you've heard of them. Redlands, Homestead, and it is everybody, I don't believe there's a state in the whole country that is even close.
And I think that's one of the issues of why we're not seeing shelter intake drop with all of these initiatives. Usually in other shelters you expect as line release goes up, it's usually partly because intake is going down and you have a pretty flat line. So I think that is a call to action to deal with shelter diversion and get more spay neuter out there in the community.